Well, hello, wonderful people. You who are recipients of the greatest news of all time. Jesus is alive and ready to bless you at the drop of a prayer. Grace and peace be yours in the name of Christ as we enter into a time of meditation together. I grew up in a small town of about 14,000 people with no large city nearby. As teenagers, the most common complaint we had was, "There's nothing to do here." And indeed, as teenagers, there seems to be no worse fate than to be condemned to boredom. It's a fate worse than death. As any middle school or high school teacher knows, the last thing you want to do is bore your students. If you do, you will see it in their faces. They will tune you out, switch you off, and heaven knows if you ever get them to engage again. Kids hate to be bored. Well, adults do as well. But in this time when so many activities have shut down, the oppressive curse of boredom is running rampant in our world. And young people are feeling it more than the rest of us. I pray for those of you who are parents with kids at home. Not only do you have to cope with your own boredom, you also feel burdened with the responsibility of alleviating the monotony your kids feel. Whether you have kids at home or not, how do you conquer the problem of having nothing to do? Well, let me remind you of something unique to the human condition. Let me remind you who you are. Genesis 1:27 states, "So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." We are told that we have something in common with God. Something of his nature is innate to each of us because we are made in his image. So what part of God's image is in us, you ask? Well, what's the first thing ever revealed about God? In Genesis 1, what do we discover about God right off the bat? Well, easy question. You know this, but we easily forget. Our God is a creative God. His word begins with the story of God exercising his creative powers to bring the cosmos into existence. And because you are created in the image of God, something of his creative impulse resides in you as well. The question then is, do you feel that impulse, or have you repressed it? God began creating in order to express himself through what he has made. God's very nature is revealed in the created order. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and the firmament proclaims his handiwork, says Psalm 19. Romans 1:20 says, "Ever since the creation of the world, God's eternal power and divine nature, invisible though they are, have been understood and seen through the things he has made." The creation is God's handiwork. We know who he is through what he has made. So I find the best way to overcome the scourge of boredom is to unleash your own creative powers and express who you are. You see, the reason we are bored is because we get lazy. We become dependent on others to entertain us. We rely on those who do exercise their creative powers to keep the monotony away. Yeah, no doubt you've watched more television in recent weeks than you ever have before. And even before this pandemic, we watched a lot. Thank God for those who are creatively expressing themselves for our enjoyment. But really, aren't you tired of TV by now? Isn't the internet itself becoming wearisome? If you are plagued with boredom, and who isn't these days, perhaps it's time to engage your God-given birthright and start creating something yourself. Now, don't tell me you're not the creative sort. We have so many means of self-expression, surely one of them will suit you to a T. You may not be able to draw. I know for me personally, it's stick figures, but perhaps you can write. You may not be able to sing very well, but maybe you can tell a good story. Is it time to get yourself some modeling clay? Should you find your old clarinet in the attic? How about you create some dance steps? Just make them up. What a wonderful time to start writing some memoirs. Your progeny will be eternally grateful. See what's in your kitchen and devise a new recipe. It may turn out better than you imagine. Gather those bored kids of yours and create a new game together. Let the kids make the rules. Those kids have amazing imaginations. Help them harness that and make it real. Anyone can create. Everyone needs to create. It's good for your soul. It's an affirmation of your humanity, an expression of the divine image in you. If you feel bored, it's because you have repressed your creative impulse and delegated your entertainment to others and abrogated your right to create. It doesn't have to be that way. Boredom is not an incurable disease. Instead, it's a call to action. It's a summons to engage your heart and express what's inside you. And what God has placed inside you is wonderful. Have a wonderful day, dear friends. And if you choose, send me how you are expressing yourself creatively. I'll be happy to share it with the rest of us. Take care, be safe, and God bless.